Flick Drummond.
Much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And like others, I've also been to Afghanistan, not as a soldier, but as a teenager, aged 16 in 1978. It was the last days of President Dowd's regime. A couple of days after he returned to Islamabad, where my father was working, Dowd was overthrown, executed and strung up. Afghanistan has been a failed state since, which is so tragic as it is a beautiful country, and I remember it as vibrant and developing fast. Much has been made and will be made in this debate about the tremendous sacrifice of our armed forces in Afghanistan. I know many soldiers who served cared passionately about Afghan people and the job they were trying to do to bring peace and security. Our involvement in Afghanistan spent 20 years of freedom for its people, and this should not be forgotten. I can only hope that from the ruins, some sense of how that feels will remain, and it will not totally revert back to extremist Islamic rule under the new government. The last 20 years have not been wasted. We have seen 40% of girls in education, that's 9 million girls where there were none, literacy rates of 56% with 70,000 female teachers, 4,000 midwives have been trained from 400 in 2001, and female MPs make up 28% of Parliament. And we only make up 34%, so they were doing incredibly well. This is what has been achieved, and this is what our brave men and women have died for. But I'm a realist, like many in this House, and hope is not much of a safeguard. The chance of any sort of progressive shift by the Taliban, now in complete control, seems remote. As co-chair of the all-party group on women, peace and security, I have spoken in this House several times in the last few months, expressing my concern about the future of women in Afghanistan following the withdrawal of NATO troops. The premise of my concern has always been the encroachment of the Taliban, which has been going on for many years, and no one should have been surprised by their entry into Kabul. In the face of Taliban rule, my concern now has turned to deep anger and frustration that women and girls may again face subjugation in Afghanistan despite the words of the Taliban leaders.
Will my honourable friend give way?
I would like to.
I thank her for giving way, and I wonder whether she would join with me in the work to try to ensure the protection of the Afghan Women's Orchestra, which came to this country in 2019 and made a big impression on the UK and is now seriously under threat.
Absolutely, I agree. And there are a lot of women's organisations that have really come to the fore over the last 20 years, and it would be very sad if they disappeared. Those brave women who joined the Afghan army now fear beheading. Girls face having their education taken away from them. Women their rights to go and do as they please. The fear of sexual violence. No women teachers, no women police officers, and no women in political life. Women wiped from the face of Afghanistan unless they're prepared to subject themselves to Taliban rule. There are already signs that Afghan women have no faith whatsoever in any lessening of the Taliban grip. In Kabul, there are reports of nail shops blackening out their windows, music shops destroying stock, and women not going to work or walking alone. Mundane, simple, everyday things that all women in the world should have the right to do, all at grave risk. Although the feeling of impotence here in this place is palpable, there is no reason to give in or give up on Afghanistan and its people. We must do all we can to engage with the new regime and any country that has influence with it. And I'm particularly focused on what Pakistan can do as a country that harboured Taliban leaders, plus any Gulf backers that have been supporting this group. Afghanistan will need aid. Delivering it must come with stringent conditions on honouring women's rights and human rights, and those of the ethnic minorities as well. This will need global consensus, and I hope the government is working extremely hard on this regard right now to ensure the Taliban has the international community breathing down its neck from day one. And one final thought, how lucky I am to stand here in the House of Commons, able to say what I think. And in honour of those brave Afghan women fearing the very worst right now, I won't forget it. Yeah.